today I'd like to just recognize some of our special alumni who have returned to celebrate either a special landmark year for themselves or to be here to support the accomplishments of their classmates. So the class of 1998, if there's anybody from the class of 1998 out there, that is the class of our distinguished young alumnus group celebrating their 20th reunion. Any class of 1998 out there? Way to go! Thank you. Good. We have your peers. The class of 1978, our alumni award winners class, celebrating their 30th reunion. Where are you? 78. 78, there you are. That's wonderful, thank you. The class of 1968, our Life Achievement Award recipients class, celebrating their 45th reunion. Any members of that? Wendy, thank you. We also, of course, have members of the class of 1963 who are celebrating their 50th reunion. Where are you? They're all at the Facebook, thank you. And all other alumni who are celebrating, whether it's their 5th or their 70th reunion, we welcome everybody. But before the presentation of the awards, we're in for a real treat, and I'd like to welcome our B-flats to the rising.
Oh
Thank you very much indeed, B-Flats. And now it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce to you Deborah Greenfield DeLauro, class of 1969. She's a member of the Alumni Association Executive Board. She's a former Baldwin trustee, and she's chair of the Alumni Awards Committee. Debbie, thank you.
Thank you, Sally. And let me add my welcome to the classes of gold at the upper school and the 8th grade for joining us here today. This year, the task of selecting our award recipients was particularly challenging. So many wonderful alumni were nominated by their peers, but we believe that we have 3 outstanding Baldwin women to recognize here today. It is my pleasure to begin the ceremony by introducing senior Charlotte Mathai and Sophia Torino, who have served as full members of the Alumni Association Executive Board and who will present the Distinguished Young Alumni Award.
The Distinguished Young Alumni Award was established in 1991. It is given to an alumna who has graduated within the last 25 years and has made a significant contribution in her profession, education, or volunteer activities.
This year's Baldwin School Distinguished Young Alumna recipient is Courtney Leonard, class of 1998, artist, filmmaker, activist, and educator.
After graduating from Baldwin, Courtney continued her education at the Institute of American Indian Arts, earning an Associate's of Fine Arts and Alfred University's New York College of Ceramics, where she earned a Bachelor's of Fine Arts. She then attended Brown University to earn a Certificate of Teaching and finished her education at the Rhode Island School of Design, where she received a Master's of Fine Arts in Ceramics.
All through her education and her career, Courtney never stopped pushing the boundaries of what it means to be a Native American, an artist, and a woman. Courtney's work explores memory and language through her personal narrative as a woman from the Shinnecock Indian Nation of Long Island, New York, believing that tradition is not stagnant and that the strengths of the past strengthens the present. She embodies a mixture of the old and new in her work.
Courtney's career focus has always been on giving back to the next generation of artists. She is currently adjunct faculty at the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She founded the ceramics program at the Art Farm, a summer camp in the Hamptons on Long Island, where she taught ceramics to children with an emphasis on expressing a broader care and concern for nature and animals through art.
One of Courtney's goals is to open an art center for the Shinnecock Nation where she can work and teach the next generation of artists like herself.
At Baldwin, we know how important the arts are, and how lucky we are that they can play such a major role in our education. We are so excited to award Courtney with this recognition.
I didn't think I was going to start out crying. But I'm deeply honored, and I just wanted to say tabutni in my language is thank you, and that I'm honored by the alumna and by the students and by my peers, who some are here today and some I'll see later throughout the events. And I shall begin by sharing some images. Because I'm a visual artist, I know that I was asked to write a speech. However, I speak better through images. And so I wanted to share some of those with you today. The first image is, I'm not sure if you can see, and I'll probably stand over here. Maybe not because of the mic, actually. Well, there we go. Okay, so does anyone know the image that's here? It's a cornhusk doll. And I grew up playing with cornhusk dolls just as I did Barbies or other dolls. Not Cabbage Patch, because my mother never let me have those. But the cornhusk doll never had a face. And it wasn't because we viewed women without having a face, but it was that in your imagination, you could be anything. And having the cornhusk doll, a no-face doll, be anything was an image I wanted to start off with in representing Baldwin. And these are my classmates. I was very surprised and honored to receive this award, but more so surprised, because I never considered myself to be the best example of a Baldwin girl. You'll notice that I'm not in our graduating class picture because I was always late. And I was always in detention because I would always have clay on my uniform because the majority of the time I spent in ceramics. So if it wasn't for the strict application of Baldwin and our beliefs, I probably would not have advanced as far as I have in my career. And because of my teachers as well. And I'm currently a teacher along with everything else that was presented, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about my teachers here, and I'm seeing some of their faces, so it's beautiful. Everything that they've taught me as a teacher, as a faculty member. And so I did attend my RISD graduation. And I was very proud to have pictures there. And I'm going to go back to my notes because the reason why I brought this up was that when I was at Baldwin, there were students applying everywhere, and I thought about applying to RISD, but I think I kind of already set where I wanted to go. And RISD just was not for me at the time for undergrad, but it's interesting how you come full circle in your life, and I did end up going to the Rhode Island School of Design for my master's. So place and culture and landscape is really important to me. And I am Shinnecock, which is on the east end of Long Island. Southampton borders our reservation. And it's almost, we call it the fork. It looks like a whale. Or those east. I live in New Mexico right now, so I feel like I'm trying to explain Long Island to East Coast people. But, but there's a small part that is at South Fork, and Shinnecock, our reservation, is there. And this piece was a preliminary sketch to my thoughts after graduating from the Rhode Island School of Design. I had no access to equipment, and as I look around here at the gym, you have so much access here, so I hope you are proud, truly proud of what you have here as a Baldwin student. And I had no access to large kilns, and I won't get technical. So I sat there with a ball of clay, and I was invited to do a show at the Staten Island Museum on Henry Hudson's anniversary and Contact, and I just started to place my print in the clay. And I had no idea where this was going to take me at the time. I just knew I had a deadline, so some of you students might feel the same way. Sometimes when you have a deadline, it pushes you. But I knew that my story was important, and that image and narrative is important, so I just began to add layers. And in terms of our history, the Dutch were the first to settle on Long Island. However, you can take first any way you want to. And so I did, and I started to play off of Delftware, blue and white. And I sewed. They don't have sewing class here, do they? It reflects in my work sometimes. But I began to sew these onto canvas, which was in my studio. And I made originally I thought, okay, I'll make 1,609 prints in clay to represent that we were always here and that presence. And it went further to say, well, if I'm gonna say we're always here, it's 2009 when the show was going, I needed to bring the present. And so the presence of being a woman is important. Although sometimes I don't go back to it now that I'm older. I am a woman, I have a daughter, but I don't think about life in different ways anymore. Everything's one for me. So I needed to establish our presence on the shores. When the discoverers came, we were here. And we would wear shells, quahog, wampum shells on our dresses. And that would have been what Henry Hudson might have seen on the shores. So I wore some of those on a skirt to the opening reception so that I could establish my presence as a woman, as a Shinnecock woman who is still here in talking about this conversation of contact. And recently, Ricky Weisberg, who I hope to see later, is from class of 1998. She called me when I was on my way to Houston for the National Council on Education for the Ceramic Arts. And I was there to attend a few meetings because I never realized at the age of 30-ish that I would be sitting on international boards in the field, and they had their meetings there. And why I brought this up was it was a reflection of where I am now today, which I teared up because when you hear it, it's so different from when you're doing it. You just do. And so I reflected that the first poster I saw was in Mrs. Gold's studio for NCECA. And to be here 15 years later is interesting for me because I just never thought I'd be at this place in my career. But I did every moment through action. I'm an active person, and I was actually voted most likely to protest, I think, when I was here at Baldwin. So this picture is Kip O'Cromley's work, and she's a female ceramic artist. I think it's important as females that we support everyone that we're inspired by, and their humanity and their approach to material. And her approach is the landscape. So this surface is Miolica, and it's on red earthenware, and you have images of wind turbines and electrical poles, and it just speaks to our current culture in a dynamic way. So this piece is by a peer from RISD, Don Holder, and it's actually blades of grass. And when I saw this piece, I thought about all of you as individual blades of grass, and together, that tight bond, you can actually walk on this installation. It's made out of porcelain, but because everyone's together, that's how it works. There we go. Okay. So the title of this shelf, I'm an observer everywhere I go. I take photographs and some of them are really random, but bear with me. So we're thinking girls. I just thought it was interesting, the titles, Shift Your Habit, Lost in the Cosmos, How to Read Literature Like a Professor, Tribal Science, It's Even Worse Than It Looks, and Why Does the World Exist? I did not arrange these. These were all together, but I thought it spoke to me of Baldwin in many ways. Tribal science is inclusive, but I think I brought my own into it, and I was allowed to be my own when I was here. But they're good questions to have, and this piece is porcelain. It says question everything. So in terms of questions, I hope that you continue to question everything. You might not know your path now. I don't think I knew everything. I think I might have acted like it, though. But I was determined, and I did question everything, and I keep that as a part of my practice. And this piece is by Shalene Venezuela, and it's high heels. And it reminded me of Dice Verum Laborum, because after having my daughter, I can barely wear high heels anymore. But the idea of learning by labor is something that really stayed with me at Baldwin. And I don't know if any of you use a pencil anymore, digital-wise, but my hand hurt at the end of an essay blue book or things of that nature. So I think it's beneficial to have hard work as a part of your practice. Mama Tried. I love cars, vintage cars. This is pinstriping for any of you that are interested. But Mama Tried is basically where I am right now. My daughter's 2.5. I'm sorry she couldn't be here today, but she loves stage presence. So I opted out. But she's taught me a lot. She's taught me how to see things from a different angle, that you can be driven and not necessarily a drive-in movie theater. But when I look at words, I see differently. When I see this, I see driven. And I think that speaks to my initial experience at Baldwin. So my daughter, we're looking for preschools. There is no Baldwin where I am. But it's a really hard choice as a mother to decide the education for your daughter. And I just recently saw Girl Rising, 10 by 10, and with my mother. And it just reminded me that not only am I here because of my experiences, but because of my family and the choices that we all made. And she's an experimenter. She loves to investigate. So I think it's important to experiment. I also think it's important to have snowball fight with your classmates, to take the lunch trays from the cafeteria and slide down in the wintertime, to have those memories that make your Baldwin family, to relax in the lounge, although there's different lounges now, to maybe see a movie. When I was a student, it was Leonardo DiCaprio in Romeo and Juliet. And now it is The Great Gatsby. Not to give promotion to that, I'd give it more to Girl Rising, but just to say our place in time. To have moments with generations, which you will have this weekend, to share the time to fly a kite or to talk with one another. And when you do fly that kite, to be triumphant. And that is where I will end. But I do want to express to all of you my great thanks. Tabuni.
Now very honored to present the Alumni Award, which was established in 1967 to honor Rosalind Cross on her 25th anniversary as head of school. It is given annually to an alumna who has distinguished herself in her field of endeavor and whose life reflects dedication to the principles of the Baldwin School. This year, we recognize Dr. Kate Miller as the recipient of the Baldwin School Alumni Award. A graduate of Princeton University, Kate earned her master's and doctorate degrees at Stanford University in geology and geophysics. As Dean of the College of Geosciences, Professor of Geology and Geophysics, Kate's research has focused primarily on the application of active source seismology to the origin and evolution of the continental lithosphere. In recent years, this work has resulted in student research and publications on the west coast of North America, the Rocky Mountains, the Great Plains, and Central and Eastern Europe. Current projects include analysis of active source data from the NSF-funded batholiths project that took place in the summer of 2009, and the seismic experiment for the Big Horns Mountains, an NSF Earthscope project. BACOLIS is a multidisciplinary study of the Coast Range Plutonic Complex of British Columbia, directed at understanding the magmatic evolution of continental arcs. The Big Horns Project is a multidisciplinary investigation of how contractual basement involved foreland arches, such as those that comprise the Central Rocky Mountains, form and are linked to plate tectonic processes. See, I told you we have a very diverse group of women up here. Kate has long been involved in using active source techniques to better understand earthquakes and other environmental hazards. Present research in this area centers on analysis of near-surface reflection data from the East Petrillo Mountain Fault in southern New Mexico, which displays evidence for recent motion. In addition, Kate also has extensive interest in enhancing diversity in geoscience education. In the past, she has led a number of training grants related to recruitment and retention of minorities in the geosciences in math and science education, with funding from the National Science Foundation and major corporations. Currently, she oversees the College of Geosciences' efforts to recruit students from the iGeo and GeoX programs. Finally, Kate is also a co-founder of DIG, Diversity and Innovation in Geosciences. In Texas, a statewide network of high school and college educators with a mission to recruit students from the increasingly diverse Texas population into college-level geosciences. Baldwin School is particularly proud to bestow the Alumni Award to Dr. Kate Miller, who has always said that Baldwin is near and dear to her heart, and she is near and dear to ours. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kate Miller, class of 1978. The winner of the 2013 Awards.
All right, well, thank you very much for this award. I can't imagine an award that would be a greater honor for me than to be recognized for my accomplishments by Baldwin. Let me tell you why. I'll begin by recalling a single day that at least symbolically launched me on my life's path. That day was April 22nd, 1970, about a year and a half before I entered Baldwin. Does that date mean anything to any of you? I heard it up front somewhere. Yes, it was the very first Earth Day. That was a day on which 20 million Americans demonstrated for a healthy, sustainable environment. That day, I was on Logan Circle, manning a recycling booth, a completely novel concept for the time. I was 9 years old, and my family lived nearby in a row house. And I vividly recall the passion and energy and hope that pervaded the city that day. And that very enthusiasm and energy quickly led to an historic and rare moment of bipartisan political alignment that created the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and enabled the passage of the Clean Air, Clean Water, and Endangered Species Acts. Those events also caused my father, who is here today, to transform himself into an environmental attorney. And of course, he was the one I would rely on to pay the tuition bill here at Baldwin. My presence on Logan Circle was no accident. The mother and aunt of my best friend, all of whom are also here today, worked at the Museum of Natural Sciences and the Franklin Institute. Have you seen the movie Night in the Museum? Yes. That was us in elementary school. We were making butterfly nets and model rockets after school, as well as outracing the security guards through the heart of the dioramas and Dinosaur Hall after hours. Those informal experiences formed the foundation for my lifelong fascination with science. My Baldwin education has sustained me my whole life. I came here in the 7th grade after the Philadelphia public school teachers had been on strike for a month. My parents set up appointments for me to visit Baldwin, Agnes, Irwin, and Shipley. I got to Baldwin first and refused to go any further. I still recall my feelings of astonishment and sheer luck to have stumbled on a place where I was going to get to read books in English class instead of doing grammar. I was actually going to attend a science class, and most important, I was going to get to play basketball on a team. Baldwin never disappointed. She did challenge me, though. By the end of my first year as a teacher, discovered I had some academic talent, so they bumped me up to advanced French and advanced math, and yes, I suffered. I mean, I was really excited to be so challenged. I had a teacher who failed me on my first English paper of the 11th grade, and worst of all, made me rewrite it. And I scored a C- in my final quarter of calculus my senior year. And because Baldwin was such a supportive environment, those experiences had benefits for me eventually. I discovered my internal resilience and determination and learned how to come back from mistakes. My Baldwin writing skills have been central to my success as a scientist, educator, and leader. And yeah, since I'm trained as a geophysicist, I guess you can imagine I got by that math thing. And even though I was never much good at field hockey, sports and exercise have always been an important element of my life, a value that I passed on to my son, who's also here today, and who as a senior political science major at Howard College, has played on the tennis team his whole 4 years. As a scientist, I've had the opportunity to explore the Gulf of Mexico for oil, help the Bhutanese government report Himalayan earthquake waves for the first time, and set off large explosions across much of the western U.S. in an effort to understand the origins of mountains and earthquakes. From these experiences, I've learned how to work on teams, discovered that oil companies are people too, honestly, they really are, and come to revel in the amazing creativity and serendipity of science. I've also grown to appreciate a West Texas sunset, Southern hospitality, Mexican culture, and Texas Aggie football games. I've contributed as an educator and leader at a university on the border with Mexico, where our country's immigration, education, and environmental challenges all meet at once, and it's just down the road from Santa Fe. And I've served on national science organizations and our government in defining the future research and education directions for the geosciences. And I've been lucky to have the support of my friends and family, who raised a wonderful son who's probably taught me more about life than anyone else. So how do I do all that? By asking myself every day, am I having fun? The answer was no, that was a bad thing. But also by reaching for all that Baldwin had asked me to do, to think independently, to lead by example, and to keep balance in my life. And finally, by keeping the passion, energy, and hope that Earth Day gave us for living sustainably on our planet close to my heart. Thank you.
Now we're up to the Baldwin School Alumni Award for Life Achievement. And the 2013 award is being given to Trish Hall. The Alumni Award for Life Achievement was established in 1991 to honor an alumna who has had a significant impact on an institution or community, or has demonstrated a lifelong dedication and commitment to helping empower those who have experienced challenges and societal barriers. The school philosophy includes within it the mission to cultivate in each student the ability and courage to continue growing as a scholar, a woman, and a human being. Baldwin succeeded in this mission with Patricia Hall, class of 1968, and we honor her today with this award. Trish started her career in the Baldwin School newsroom, working as editor of the Hourglass. She went to the University of California at Berkeley, a place that was experiencing a tremendous cultural changes in the late 1960s. After graduation, at Berkeley, Trish majored in history, but worked for the university newspaper as well as for the Associated Press as a freelance writer. After graduation, Trish began writing for several newspapers in Connecticut and finally settled at the Wall Street Journal, where she spent several years covering the food industry. During that time, she helped to define the new American cuisine by writing about significant trends in cooking and dining in the 1970s. In 1986, Trish joined the staff of the New York Times, where she became the editor of the Living, Home, and Styles section. However, in 1996, Trish left the New York Times to become the executive editor of the Martha Stewart Living magazine. But then, after several years, returned to the Times, where ultimately she became the Sunday business editor in 2003. It was in this role that Trish was recognized for having invented the Times' popular Escapes column, which highlighted different interesting destinations every Sunday. In 2011, the New York Times honored Trish by naming her the editor of the op-ed page. This position requires a broad range of knowledge and interests, as well as outstanding diplomatic skills in addition to management and editing expertise. Trish is also, I might add, in her spare time, been the co-author of the 2005 book A Little Work, The Truth Behind Plastic Surgery's Park Avenue Facade. Trish lives in New York, where she balances her work time with family. Her husband, Larry Wolander, here with her today, is an artist, and her daughter, Hallie, is following in her mother's footsteps, enjoying an early career in writing and journalism. Clearly, Trish has dedicated her professional life to following her passion for writing and finding the story, and in so doing, she has built a reputation for fairness, honesty, and innovation in her profession. And so, we honor Trish Hall with the Baldwin School Alumni Life Achievement Award. Trish.
Wow, I didn't know what that was going to say, so I have to start right out by saying I never had plastic surgery. It was a critique of plastic surgery. It sounds good when it's all sort of rolled up by that in that way, but it doesn't actually feel that way as you're going along. And there is a theme here that's kind of fascinating. I don't cry very often, actually. Some people have criticized me for not crying. Am I doing this right? But I did cry when I heard the Baldwin song. And there is a way that Baldwin gets into all of us, and sometimes you don't even know it right away. You know, you're who you are because of your family and your friends and your genes, and I am very interested in science, so I always think it's my genes. But actually, to a large extent, I am who I am because of Baldwin. And the teachers that I met here. You know, I came here my sophomore year. I came here when it was still a boarding school. Sorry, I have a lot of allergies. And I was tired of the little town I lived in. I was in a co-ed school. I didn't have a boyfriend. You know, like, life is about luck. If I had had a boyfriend, maybe I wouldn't have come here. But Thank heaven for that. I didn't, and I wanted to get away, and I escaped to boarding school, which is the most bizarre concept. But there were a lot of very wild boarders who did wild things, and I loved them all. They drank, they smoked, they walked on the roof. They did many bad things. They did them together. When I was here, I was part of the service league, and I tutored. I also have to say, I have a terrible, terrible memory, but I tutored a boy named Ducky Mapp, and I have never forgotten his name because he's totally seared into my brain because we tutored at the church, and I knew I had this very lucky life. It was the 60s. I felt incredibly guilty. I felt like this ridiculous, inadequate person going to teach this, African-American boy from the ghetto in Philadelphia how to read. I mean, it's like, I don't know how to teach him how to read. And the disparity between Baldwin and his life was incredibly painful. So at one point, we made a trip to his school, and there were bars on the window. It was an incredibly depressing place. So I wrote a piece about it for the hour class, and that piece really changed my life. It sort of gave me life. After it ran, the headmistress, who was Rosamond Cross, who was a very significant person, and I found her very scary and very intimidating. And I always was sort of this weird combination of afraid of authority and very rebellious. So I don't really remember quite what happened, but she wanted me to apologize to the woman who ran the school in Philadelphia because I'd insulted her. I don't really know if I apologized, but what I really remember is that the teachers stood by me. Not that Miss Cross didn't. I think she was trying to get me to see all the perspectives, which I did not. But Miss Wilson, Mrs. Crane, the teachers were like, you have to write the truth, and you have to stand by your work, and it's really important. And it's like, that was the sort of moment. I always wanted to be a writer, but I didn't know what that meant. I grew up in a small town. I didn't know any writers. I didn't know any artists. I didn't know, I knew dentists. Or farmers. It was northeastern Pennsylvania. There weren't any writers. So this sort of gave a shape to the desire to be a writer, because all I had done up to that point was read a lot of really bad fiction, which I continue to do. Baldwin gave me this work that I like, and the idea of achievement or success is sort of incidental. It's wonderful, and I'm incredibly grateful for this award. But I know a lot of talented people who aren't necessarily successful, but what they have, and what I know I'm lucky to have because of Baldwin, is that I like what I do. And I don't like it every day, I don't like it every minute, but, I guess the one thing I've learned from getting older is that you have to do what you like. And if people tell it, if you decide that you're going to settle for something that sounds good, or you make a lot of money, or people are impressed by it, it doesn't work out so well. So, I wish you were going through my career, it's always kind of shocking how short my attention span is. But I like to sew, and when I was younger, I don't sew now, but I like crafts, I like cooking. That's one reason I was at Martha Stewart. I like business, I'm fascinated by economics. So the luck I had was to be able to try all these different things, but sort of stay in one field. So Baldwin gave me that, and whether you think, you're getting something out of Baldwin now or not, maybe you'll see it later. If you get that conviction that you have to find the thing that you're meant to do, well, then you'll start crying when you hear the song. You'll be like us. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again to our 3 award winners. Wonderful story. So now it's my pleasure to do the second part of our ceremony today, and that is to recognize some of the faculty that have made these kinds of careers possible. And today is actually quite a landmark occasion for us, because for the first time, and it's with gratitude and appreciation to Marjorie Reed, who is the class of 1939 from Baldwin, that today we're going to present the very first Reed Fellowship for Teaching Excellence. And this award, this honor, this fellowship, was created to honor our faculty and recognize sustained excellence in teaching. This fellowship will be awarded annually to a full-time teacher and provides $5,000 for the teacher to use to further enhance his or her role in the classroom. Now, the nominations for this special fellowship came from the peers of the teaching staff. So the nominations came forward to our council group. Council met and selected two very, very closely aligned proposals and nominations. We really couldn't determine which was the best. They were both equally good. They sent them off to the administrative team to make the final determination. We still couldn't pick one. So we're actually picking two, because each of these nominations was so strong. So I'm going to read brief excerpts from the nominating letters for each of these individuals, and then I'm going to ask both teachers to come up and we will give them their awards. So the second grade teacher, Mrs. Bree Daly, has been at Baldwin for 7 years, and she has made a significant mark on our lower school programming. In a letter to our lower school director, a parent wrote, I quote, "I wanted to take this opportunity to let you know what a treasure Baldwin has in Bree Daly. Under her excellent leadership and guidance, our girls are engaged in hands-on activities which promote analytical assessment, critical thinking, problem-solving, communication, and teamwork. Teachers like Mrs. Daly are one of the reasons I sent my daughter to Baldwin." Her peers, too, acknowledge Bree's excellence in the classroom. Words used to describe her include creative, innovative, nurturing, animated, and she knows each of her students as an individual learner. Next year, Bree will be coordinating our new Dream Lab, a place where all lower school girls will come to discover and explore the intricacies of design, robotics, engineering, art, and mathematics. So our first Reed Fellow is Bree Daly. Congratulations, Bree. Now, the other award winner here is somebody who I know many of you will know. Our second recipient is Dr. Susan Dorfman. When the nominating person was her colleague and close friend, Dr. Christy Reed, she wrote a wonderful 4-page letter describing Dr. Dorfman, and I've taken a few phrases from it to share with you, and I'm quoting all of this from Mrs. Reed. "When I think of what a dedicated and passionate, invested educator looks like, I look to my mentor and colleague, Susan Dorfman." The letter goes on to state that first and foremost, Susan is an expert in her field and a role model for her students as a woman in science. A lifelong learner, Dr. Dorfman strives always to remain current in her field. When she has an idea, she aims big and does things well with personal follow-through. Susan is a no-nonsense teacher who respects her students and demands respect in return. Her patience is unrivaled. And when I asked her about it one time, she told me very strongly that the students and the alumni are the lifeline of the Baldwin School. Guiding our science department with grace and compassion and understanding for several years, Dr. Susan Dorfman's name has become synonymous with the rigors of scientific inquiry in our middle and upper schools, and overall excellence in teaching. Congratulations, Dr. Dorfman. My privilege to present the prestigious Rosamond Cross Endowed Teaching Chair, which was established in 1988 in honor of our fourth head of school, Rosamond Cross, and it's awarded every 2 years to a full-time faculty member who has made an outstanding contribution to his or her work, to the Baldwin community, or to the broader field of education. Recognizing distinguished teaching over several years, this honor is the highest we bestow. And our custom is, as you will see, we have a chair, and I'm going to invite this year's recipient to come forward. I will then say a few words about her. So, Dr. Ledley, are you here? In Northern Ireland, Dr. Ledley embarked on her lifelong journey of discovery along a road that she has paved with academic excellence. Following her BA from Hunter College, where she also received a Phi Beta Kappa Award in 1969, Dr. Ledley pursued her graduate and doctoral work at Rice University. At Rice, she received a graduate fellowship from university and an NDEA fellowship in recognition of her fine work. She earned her PhD in English in 1974 with her dissertation entitled, and I quote, "George Eliot's narrative technique in the dramatic delineation of her mentors," end quote. Good, I got it, thank you. Dr. Ledley's teaching experience includes 2 years at La Salle University, a year at Rosemont College, and 9 years at Villanova. Then in 1985, she was wooed to the Baldwin School. And the rest, as they say, is history. Or is it still very current? An examination of some of the courses that Olive Ledley has taught at Baldwin reveals the intricate story of deep intellect and a passion to ignite love of literature in her students. Let me show you what I mean. And I quote, "Is it better to be an unhappy Socrates or a contented pig?" End quote. This quote from the 19th century English philosopher Mills is the title of her elective on existentialism and the absurd in 20th century literature. Who would want to miss that course? Or how about this one? Quote, "The hero with 1,000 faces, Beowulf to Harry Potter." Here's another one. "Growing up female, the woman's novel of development." Or this one, "Despair and Resolution, Two Views of Shakespeare, King Lear and the Tempest." Or the fiction of Toni Morrison, or the art and poetry of World War I. The list is endless. And she also not only teaches literature, but also the opportunity for girls to learn to write for themselves. Creative writing course, and I love the course requirement that she put on the creative writing course. Writing. That was the requirement. Oleg's work at Baldwin has extended far beyond her students. For a dozen years, she chaired the English department, and as department chair, she held firm to her belief that teachers should have a varied school day, teaching several class preparations, a belief that she modeled herself, more often than not teaching 4 preps each year. She founded our faculty mentoring program, and she ran it for several years. A highly respected and valued colleague, Dr. Ledley has mentored literally scores of teachers at all stages of their careers through Baldwin. She has been the go-to person for so many for so long. Her students and colleagues love and admire Dr. Ledley for her intelligence, her resourcefulness, her conscientiousness, and above all for her commitment to her classroom and to her students. We all love her smile, her quick wit, her precision. I mean, how many times do we all go to Oleg for proofreading? And of course, we love her soft Irish accent. Alumni from every generation will coyly share their fondness as they do Dr. Ledley impersonations, even years after graduation. Married to Dr. John Ledley, who is here this afternoon, and proud mother of Timothy and Jonathan, also here, and grandmother of 2 grandsons, Olive shows us that it is possible to be a wife, a mother, and have a serious, illustrious career. And might I say, be very modest about it all too. Keep reading, it's good, it's nearly done. And somehow, in this busy, busy life, she still manages to pursue her passions for tennis, golf, opera, and the theater. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me, rise and
it's been a wonderful trip and will continue to be so. Thank you so much.
And now to conclude our ceremony, I'd like to invite the class of 2013, please, to come forward and sing their song.